Welcome to Forbes Talks. Joining me now is Maggie McGrath, the editor of ForbesWomen. Maggie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. The 50 over 50 Asia list launched on Wednesday. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. I share this spotlight and really cede most of the spotlight to one of our colleagues in Asia, Rana Webby-Watson. She's a special projects editor who is one of the editors on this list, and I swear she knows every powerful woman in Asia.
I love that, and we will talk about a lot of them. I want to first talk about the origin of the list. What was the inspiration behind it?
So this is the global extension of our North American 50 over 50 franchise, which launched in 2021 as a way of highlighting women who are stepping into their power over the age of 50. The American list looks across all sectors and finds founders and leaders of social change and people who are breaking glass ceilings in economics and science and beyond. But, the team sat down and talked about how this isn't just an American phenomenon. This is happening around the globe. So we did the 50 over 50 Asia in 2022, and this marks the second edition of the Asian expansion. And then just a little teaser, next week we'll be launching the second annual 50 over 50 EMEA, looking at women over 50 breaking barriers in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa.
Exciting. Let's talk about logistics. First of all, how do these women get chosen?
We do look across all sectors, and we want to make sure we have a diverse representation. We have more than 24 sectors represented on this list. The other crucial consideration, there are no repeats. So the same as the American list. Once you are on the 50 over 50 and part of this community, you are always part of this community. But we look to find new names so people can be excited about them. Finally, we're looking for people who run businesses or create change at scale. We have Pakistan's first female justice on their Supreme Court on this year's list. We have people running major stock exchanges and financial institutions. We have Soma Mandal, who's the first female head of India's largest steel authority. So these women are working everywhere and really leading major companies and institutions.
I love the community aspect of this list. Once you're in for life. What are the sectors? You said that there's over a dozen?
Mm-hmm. Over 24. So we have, and some are kind of a combination. So we have some from the beauty industry and some from the technology industry. And we have two founders who are merging beauty and tech. One has Alice Chang, the founder of The Perfect Company, has a company that allows you to try on makeup virtually.
How do you do that?
I haven't tried it, so I will have to report back. But our colleague Lauren Detter has a great profile going all into the specifics and how it's AI enabled, I think. I'm always a little skeptical of those tools, but she's done quite well for herself with this company. And then another person on this list, Fawn Didi, she is a scientist at heart. She studies collagen, the protein that's good for our skin, or rather the protein that makes our skin what it is. By studying collagen and kind of a super form of collagen that comes from bioengineering and genetic engineering, she takes the findings of that research, pours it into her beauty company, puts it in the products, does hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Her company, Giant Biogene, IPO'd in November, and she's a billionaire because of that. So we have beauty, we have tech, I already mentioned materials and steel, and I've mentioned justice, the justice system. We have Supreme Court justices and the local Supreme Courts there. So they're really, if you can name a sector, they're probably working in it.
I love how diverse the sectors are. And what surprised you most about this list?
It's less surprising the more that I do it, but I think sometimes watching what people have overcome to achieve their positions, the stories of personal triumph and personal loss. We have someone on the list named Aya Komaki. She is the CEO of Sanrio, which if you don't know the name of that company, you do know the name of something Sanrio holds, which is Hello Kitty.
Of course.
So that's the parent company behind the global phenomenon that is Hello Kitty. Aya's been working for Sanrio in some form or another since she graduated with her master's degree in the 80s. But she stopped working to be a stay-at-home mom and then lost a child, got divorced, then returned in the early 2000s, survived breast cancer and a hysterectomy, was eventually put in charge of the division that oversees Hello Kitty World, the amusement park, and grew that audience into millions of people who visit the park now. And in 2019, at the age of 60, she became Sanrio's CEO. But if you look at the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations and then the triumphs, the three T's, she's just one of many people who really bear down in moments of difficulty and show what's possible.
That's incredible. Can you name some more inspiring stories that you've seen on the list this year?
I'm a fan of Ambika Srinivasan. She is a Malaysian lawyer and human rights advocate. She was actually president of the Malaysian bar, but what I love about her story is that while the president of the Malaysian bar, you think of that as buttoned up and in the office, she led a march in the streets of lawyers protesting for reform, judicial reform. And then after that, she called for human rights. She's been a staunch advocate for women and, in fact, successfully changed the Malaysian constitution for when women testify in court for their testimony to hold equal weight to those of men's testimony, which prior to her involvement, if a man and a woman testified in a Malaysian court, their testimonies held different weights, which to my eye doesn't seem fair. So there's inspirations of all kinds throughout this list.
Every woman you've mentioned so far has a vastly different career path. But based on all of these women, what's a common theme you've seen on this year's list?
I think it's the theme within the 50 over 50 in general, which is not assuming life or a career ends at a certain point and instead looking at it as chapters or a series of evolutions. You do one thing and you don't just assume that it's done and it's over and you pack your bags and go home. You can evolve, you can do something different, you can do something bigger, better than ever before.
I love that. And Forbes is obviously famous for the 30 under 30 list. This is 50 over 50. So obviously, aside from the age, how do these two lists differ?
What's interesting is you strip away the age and you hear a lot of the same things. There is this drive to change the world. There is, among a lot of the people on the list, and I was talking about it with someone earlier today, you see a personal passion that becomes a professional mission, whether it's through giving back. There's one woman on the list who founded an education company. She did that after watching her daughter struggle in school, in a school in Singapore, and then the whole family moved to London, and the daughter thrived at the London school, and that's because the London school encouraged play and exploration. So she came back to Singapore and started this school that's now served 20,000 people, I think. So you get that merging of the personal and the professional. The professional would not have been there without the personal inspiration. And that's a story we've heard countless times over and over again, whether you're looking at the 50 over 50 or the 30 under 30.
Maggie, a word that keeps coming up in our conversation is some variation of inspiration, inspiring. How are these women inspiring the next generation?
I think I always go back to a phrase that's become a little bit of a cliche, and I've said it before on this program. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And I think they are serving as models for the next generation. I know for me, it's interesting to see their paths compared to the path of maybe what my grandmother would have had. And, she wasn't working as an entrepreneur into her 60s and 70s. So I think when there are models for starting a company at 50, taking a company public at 60, starting a company at 70, continuing to run that company at 80, I've gotten messages from women my own age saying how much they appreciate hearing those stories.
I was just talking to someone yesterday, and I was saying that I think this list is even more inspiring than the 30 under 30 because it's nice to see, hey, you can have a second act. You can start over. You can still change the world regardless of the age. So what is the oldest person that's on the list?
The oldest person on this year's 50 over 50 Asia is 80 years old, and she is a very prominent calligrapher in Taiwan.
And in one word, I know it must be hard, but in one word, what do you think is the one shared trait that all of these women possess?
Perseverance.
Maggie McGrath, thank you so much.
Thank you.